Hi, today I'm going to do my demonstrated speech for y'all, and my goal is to inform y'all about Miss Mary Bobo's. It's a boarding house in Lynchburg, Tennessee. Now it's been transferred to a restaurant. It was first opened and led by Miss Mary Bobo's herself. She was a very strong-headed woman during that time because she grew up in a time where most women were not extremely good leaders, or they weren't at that high rank to lead something that big. So that was a very big deal for Lynchburg, Tennessee. She started this in the 1800s, and this house still remains standing. There's not a lot of changes in it. And she was always very particular about how everything was, how everyone in her boarding house was, and the way she set her tables, it still remains the same way. The way we set our food on the table is the same way as she set it. She'd always be the last person to sit down, so she made sure everything was perfect for her boarding house guests. She would always serve them breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, so they had many meals, and we actually still cook the same meals that she had then. We still use the same recipes as it was back then today. And so today I'm just going to show you how she set her tables with our plates and utensils and all the rest of the food. So I'm going to start with our plate. So our plate always goes directly in front of our chair. And with a round table, it has some problems, and you kind of have to go by each chair to sit the plate perfectly, because if you don't, it's going to be crooked, or it's going to be this way or too far this way, and when you put the food on the table, it's going to cause problems. Next, there's not really a preference, whichever way you want to do it. I typically do napkins next, and you make sure there's a corner right here that's going to face towards the plate, and then you put your fork in the middle of it. Next is my knife, and you always point it towards the plate. And then right beside that is our spoon. Our spoons are a little bit larger at the restaurant, but this is what I'm working with. So you just place that spoon right beside it, and you try to get it a little close by the plate so it doesn't run into the next plate. The next thing is our glass. We typically do this 30 minutes before the experience, and you place it directly above the knife. So the experience is a family style experience, and they have a hostess that will sit with you and tell you about Miss Mary Bobo's and the history of Jack Daniels in Lynchburg, and just tell you all the little things that you want to know about our small town. They also, so with it being family style, you always have 2 meats and 6 sides, and then your drink and your dessert are obviously included in that meal. And so it's an hour experience, that's what we call it now. So around 45 minutes before the seating, we're going to go ahead and sit out our relishes, our butters and lemons. So I typically do the relish out on the left side. It's really just a preference, and then I put the lemons on either side. I typically try to put it beside the hot sauce because that's just preference. And our hot sauces and our salt and pepper always stay on the table, so that's why it's already in the middle. Next, we're going to have our butter. I just stick it opposite of the lemons to even it out. And then about 10 minutes before the experience, we do our casseroles. So our casseroles are obviously hotter than what they are right now. But I'm just going to go ahead and sit them out. Put some right here. And you kind of mess around with the table, because some of our tables are smaller, some are larger, and you just kind of have to play around with it. My table is obviously smaller than the ones there, so I'm kind of having to play around with how they're going to sit up. But as you can tell, they are directly across from one another. And then we have a dinner bell that goes off at 11, 1, or 3 o'clock, depending on the experience you're attending. And when that dinner bell goes off, we start to get the rest of our food out. So this is our meat. And a fun fact is that one of our meats, typically we have fried chicken or some kind of chicken, and it always goes in front of the hostess at the table, because they love chicken and they always want it to be in front of them. and they'll go directly across from each other. And then this is my side, and I have a bean one, and the beans always go close to the relish because typically people put beans and their relish together. So I try to put them together if I can. And then we have 2 more sides. Typically we have okra every single day, and so it comes out typically last. And then we also have bread, and it comes out the very last because we don't want it to be soggy. And you put it close to the butter because that's what the butter's for. And so this is how you set your table with your plates, your drinks, and all your food. And in conclusion, Mr. Bobo's has been the best experience for me, and it's definitely taught me all these skills and many more skills for them. And she's also like just such a great leader and very particular. And I am very particular about things, so it makes me feel good that I can set the table like this. And I think she's an amazing woman, and her food is obviously amazing. If you have not ate there, you should. And Mr. Rose has just been the amazing experience that it is. And so now I'm going to show you my audience. Okay. Here's 1, 2, 3, and then here's 4. And then my niece is in there too, but you can't really see her, and that's 5. Okay. Thank you.